That's right!
Welcome to the Know. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm John Reisinger.
We've all been playing what's essentially the same Pokemon game for the last 20 years.
And it's been awesome.
I know, it never seems to stop us from grabbing our trainer hats and getting right back into the Pokedex grind when the next one comes out.
Love that grind. But reviews are now up for Pokemon Sun and Moon ahead of the new game's worldwide release, which means we can find out if they're any good, even though we all know we're going to be playing them anyway.
But you might be pleasantly surprised by what the critics are already saying about the 7th generation, because not only are Sun and Moon holding at an 88 on Metacritic, they're also being hailed as some of the best Pokemon games in years.
Just for shits and Jigglypuffs, that's a bad joke. Let's take a quick look at how that score compares to some of the most recent Pokemon games. Alpha Sapphire and Omega Ruby have scores of 82 and 83, which is kind of weird because there's different scores for the same game. X and Y scored 87 and 88. This doesn't make sense. Black and White 2 came in 82 and 80. That's even more of a difference. And Black and White scored 87.
Well, at least they kept it together around that. Like, all in up, Sun and Moon are actually holding at a typical score level for the proper entries that everyone knows about. Of the review sites, Digital Spy awarded it 5 out of 5 stars, Daily Dot 4.5 out of 5 stars, and Games Radar 4 out of 5 stars. Everyone else that prefers numbers, like IGN, Destructoid, 6th Axis, and EGM, scored it 9 out of 10, while Polygon gave it 8.5.
Those are all pretty impressive marks from reviewers who are calling this new game a major evolution, haha, joke, for the Pokemon series as a whole.
On the plus side, critics are reporting that Sun and Moon may have the best region yet, and I guess with the perfect amount of water, and that it gives the franchise a much needed shot in the arm thanks to mixing up some of the tried and true mechanics. In terms of critiques, reviewers did find the game to be a little bit more handholdy than necessary, and said that it was sometimes marred by performance issues.
But let's talk about the good stuff first, because there's plenty of that to go around with Sun and Moon. Often with phrases like, the most memorable Pokemon journey in years.
That's not hyperbolic.
Yeah, that's exactly what Polygon said in their review, writing that the new games serve as not just a refinement, but a reinvention of what the series has gotten right and wrong over the past 2 decades.
One of the biggest upgrades involves the setting itself, Alola. Rather than just being the place where all the shit in the game happens, Alola's setting is actually tied into the actual Pokemon and the way you find them. You arrive as a new trainer from Kanto who not only has a goal of being the best, like no one ever was, but also to learn Alola's approach to catching Pokemon, battling, and even solving some of its mysteries, of which there are plenty.
Games Radar heaped high praise on the island paradise, saying, this is a voyage of discovery. Alola's tropical island chain is the series' most creative setting yet, introducing exotic new Pokemon and altering the forms of existing ones. This is no mere Hawaiian skin swap. It's a sunny shift, lifting previously burned-in tropes.
One of those tropes to get the chopping block is the idea that Pokemon games don't tell compelling stories. Sun and Moon uses the game's new setting to create a admittedly simple but really fun narrative, which many reviewers found to be one of its strongest points.
6th Axis wrote of Sun and Moon's story. With the change of structure, Game Freak has evidently had more freedom to tell an overarching narrative that isn't limited by series conventions. As a result, Pokemon Sun and Moon has excellent pacing throughout its main campaign. It's a definite improvement from the frankly dull overarching plot in Pokemon X and Y, with a great cast of characters that ooze with personality.
It also has really cool cutscenes for the first time ever, which is kind of a change to the series. It's awesome, and it works out really well. I think that's what enables them to tell more of a story, too. The change in structure also extends to how the game works in general, because Sun and Moon use that new story stuff to channel new gameplay additions. While the idea of changing up the gameplay might sound scary to the game's more traditional fans, because change is always a little scary, Sun and Moon apparently pull it off in a way that still makes it feel like Pokemon. The biggest of these shifts would have to be the removal of gyms and gym battles in favor of island trials.
So apparently the island trials are a welcome change for many reviewers. I'll save that for myself.
I liked them.
Rather than just training up to defeat a personality-less gym leader, they got plenty of personality. Island captains now ask you to do things. I'm arguing with the teleprompter now. That's what it's come to. Island captains now ask you to do things that teach you more about the world. At the end of your trials, you face off against Kahuna and then a challenging elemental Pokemon Guardian.
IGN loved the island trials, writing, it's similar enough to previous Pokemon games to avoid alienating veterans, but also an inventive take on the formula that fits with and plays off of the island setting beautifully. Bringing the challenges out into the world rather than keeping each step toward becoming a champion segmented in its own gym helped Alola feel more like a place where things happen happen instead of an overworld map.
Other welcome changes are present in the game as well. Well, see, when you battle, for instance, you now have an effectiveness indicator, which alerts you whether or not certain moves are going to be effective against Pokemon you've already battled, cutting down on the amount of times you have to stop playing and check another screen if you can't remember every single matchup in the game. And I can't remember all the types either anymore. There's like 50 different types, and so this is good.
So Sun and Moon also ditches some of the tediousness of random battles by allowing hurt Pokemon to call for help from other monsters, meaning a boring encounter suddenly becomes a little bit more engaging and interesting because they just called in a buddy. Game Freak has also reworked the movement system to full 3D instead of grid-based movement, meaning you now have a lot more freedom to explore the world.
But, of course, the game is certainly going to have a few downfalls, particularly in a series that's remained largely the same for so many years. For one, many reviews cited the game as being a bit too hand-holdy, over-guiding players through what's basically the millionth game in the series.
Yeah, Games Radar found this particularly annoying, writing, "It's a little too guided at times. The hand-holding is almost Vice-like. Sure, explaining the rules is helpful to newcomers, but after 2 decades, the series has amassed so many mechanics that muscles are strained as it bends over to explain them all."
It's a good visual.
Although I guess if they're counting on a lot of people coming back in thanks to Pokemon Go or something like that who have missed out on the last several generations, then I can see why they'd want to, but it would have been nice if it was optional.
Yeah, you can speed through it somehow. As much as Sun and Moon add new gameplay mechanics that sing, there are others that fell a bit flat. Pokepelago, Festival Plaza, and Poke Refresh sound like decent distractions, but nothing fundamentally game-altering in the way that Island Trials proved to be, and not nearly as fun.
Another thing that stood out in a number of reviews is that Sun and Moon seem to be butting up against the technical limits of the 3DS, which, let's be honest, is a very fun machine, but a powerhouse it is not.
Limited.
While many reported that the game is easily the best looking Pokemon, particularly because of its cinematic camera movement, others said that it seems to be pushing the 3DS a bit too far, resulting in performance issues and frame rate drops.
It's a bummer. EGM wrote about these problems in its review. Whether playing online or even offline in the main game, whenever more than 2 Pokemon appear on screen, the game starts to slow down a little, load times become more evident, and animations begin to crawl.
As for the online functionality, that was another slightly sore spot for critics. Online, as ever, is still a problem for Nintendo, but if you're into Pokemon, you already know that, and you know who you want to play with already.
Yeah, in the end, it sounds like Pokemon Sun and Moon is one of the best entries the game has had in years, and its inventive new approach gives veterans and newbies alike plenty of reason to try it out. It both honors the traditions of the past games, but gives the series a new direction for the future.
Yeah, so overall, it sounds like Sun and Moon are worth trying out if you've been a fan of the past, or if you're interested in seeing what all the fuss is about now, or if you played Pokemon Go and are interested in getting back into it. You can judge for yourself on November 18th. Honestly, as someone who, I tried Pokemon X, I didn't get super into it, and then I played Pokemon Go, and then got back into it with Sun and Moon. I liked having the experience from Pokemon Go because then I recognized a lot of the Pokemon that are in this, and I appreciated their changes to the Alola form. It was nice. I felt like I didn't feel like a stranger to the franchise, even though it's not something I have a ton of experience with in the past. So, hopefully we'll see a lot of other people who also got tired of Pokemon Go who give this one a try. We'll see.
I'm still playing it. Hey, what do you guys think about the glowing reviews for Pokemon Sun and Moon? Which version are you picking up? Let us know in the comments.
And for future updates on all things Pokemon, like this video and subscribe to the Know.
Quick, on 3, say which one you're gonna pick up. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Moon.
Right there, come on. Does it bother anybody that everyone just like rates things with different like numbers and stuff? I think we should be more unified with it.
I give it 7 out of 6 kumquats.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, kumquats are good for you probably. They're a fruit, right?